Hey, how's everybody doing today?
That's what you got right at the beginning.
Brand new episode of Movie Schmovie.
And as you can see, Ronald has had an energy adjustment.
Oh yeah,
since
man.
the last episode.
It's amazing what a Red Bull can do.
I was dead to the world.
Right through the anus. It just
right.
goes right into the
Isn't that
bloodstream
how
a lot quicker.
people are taking stuff that way, right? Right up.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right in the old
Or
bung.
up your nose or in your eye.
Nope. Right in the bung. Immediately to your bloodstream. I hear within seconds.
Note to self.
Note to self.
Proven point, Ronald jumping off at the episode start as opposed to 53. He's very excited for episode 54.
Oh yeah.
As am I, because this is going to be hopefully the start of a long conversation, which I have no doubt probably will go beyond one episode. And that's going to be our discussion on remakes, the great remake debate. I like to call it episode 1, even though it's episode 54. Don't confuse that.
Right.
I think it's a saga worthy of that title.
It's kind of a Twilight thing.
Yeah.
This is Movie Schmovie episode 54, the Great Remake Debate, part 1.
What kind of punctuation do we have in there? Is there colons, hyphens, commas?
I'm trying to get an inye in there.
Wow. Twilight does not have an inye, I'll tell you that much.
No, they don't.
Right. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing okay.
I personally am good.
Yeah.
I'm feeling fine myself.
Good. I'm glad that you're doing good.
You as well, my friend.
Well, I'm glad that you guys are doing well. So apparently we're going to talk about some movies that we have seen.
Yeah, we kind of do this catch up every episode before we get into the remake. John and I actually saw a pretty, in my opinion, a pretty amazing documentary that I wanted to see in the summer, never opened here, but it's called The Imposter. It comes out on DVD actually, I think next month, but we were fortunate enough to get a copy of it to check out for the show. I don't even know what to say about this film. I mean, it's a story. It happened in '93. A little boy, 13-year-old, goes missing. 3 or 4 years go by. The family gets a call from, I guess, the Spanish police officer saying that somebody had been found claiming to be the child. You know, as what would have been or should have been a 17 or 16-year-old kid, and you kind of just go along for this ride of this person who basically was an imposter. You know, this is a guy who was obviously older than that, didn't share really many physical qualities of the kid or what the kid may have looked like at that age.
Pretty amazing.
I mean, he was dark-haired, brown-eyed,
and the kid had
strong accent.
The kid had these piercing blue eyes and was a blonde-haired kid and kind of a skinny-faced kid, and this guy had like a round face and like a different jawline and brown eyes. I mean, everything about this guy was different.
Right.
There's no way that, this guy was the kid. I mean, you watch the film and you say there's no way, but I mean, you then talk, you hear interviews with like federal agents and attorneys and assistant attorneys who went there to see this person and to interview the person to clear them to come back to the States. The family member went there to talk to them. And, you either believe that they just wanted to believe it so badly that they just went along with it, specifically the family member.
Yeah, apparently nobody was holding up a picture of the kid who disappeared and looking at it next to the guy.
Well, thankfully, I guess in 96 or 97, when a fax came through of what the kid looked like, I guess that printer was vague enough that it passed. But, yeah, so, I mean, this guy comes back to the States and lives with this family for a number of months before, it's found out that it's not that kid. And the documentary I think does a really great job of kind of mixing in the actual interviews with the participants and I guess shot footage of reenactments of what happened. Just a really cool film, really well made, very creepy in my opinion.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me a little bit. I mean, not so much in the context, but like the Paradise Lost documentaries about the West Memphis 3, like which I'm a huge fan of. Just like. It gets to a point where it's just presenting you with a lot of information, and that kind of makes me like go on that detective mode, and that's where it kind of turns into a thriller and kind of a mystery to me. And the last 20 minutes genuinely creeped me out. I mean, like to the point where I was very upset watching the movie and angry, and just I ran the gamut of emotions, wondering, what happened to this kid? If this guy, obviously, I knew he wasn't the kid.
Yeah, and that's also like that's the premise from the outset. So at no point really are you watching this movie wondering if the kid was ever really found. We know the guy's an imposter. So it's not really a spoiler to say, that you come to understand more and more about the reason that this guy did this thing that's kind of hard to understand. But it still raises a lot of questions that it doesn't really resolve. And normally I would think that would make it kind of frustrating. But it kind of feels like it's part of just the overall flow of life. Like you feel like maybe there's a few facts kind of hovering around the edge of this story that we don't know that would make a lot of things make sense.
Clear,
but,
yeah.
And I don't know, maybe if there's, I think that the way the movie kind of takes on the personality of the imposter, and you kind of get inside his head, the movie pulls a little bit of a con on you based on you kind of taking certain things he says at face value and then later finding out maybe there's more to that. I think that it has like legitimate twists in it, which is not always the case for a documentary.
Absolutely. And, you're kind of left. And I think one of the other accomplishments with the filmmaker is that, it's kind of when you talk about those facts that are kind of sitting around the outside of this story, some are given to you, some are not, or some you wonder if they're out there. But I mean, you kind of are left, you're kind of left with like seeing, I guess, some insight into this person who was the imposter that makes you say, is this guy just absolutely crazy? Yes, maybe, but then there's a whole nother side thing that's presented in the last 20 minutes, which is what I'm referring to. I don't want to kind of ruin anything.
Well, I mean, if you could say it hinges on the question of how could you mistake someone who is not your son or your brother or your friend?
Yes.
How could you mistake someone who is not them for them, even if they had been gone for a few years?
Right.
And even if it had been during those ages where, maybe between 14 and 17, a lot of people do really change. But even within that, like, I think the question that you have in your head from the beginning of the movie is exactly the question that the movie is kind of most concerned with.
And honestly,
which is
talking about it now, it's like literally, I'm getting cold chills a little bit because it bothered me so much. There's like a period of 2 minutes in the movie where it really jumps on the idea of what the family could have possibly thought about this person that would have brought, this guy back and welcomed them into their home, or him into their home, and you question a lot of things. And it just was probably in 2 minutes of film, the most captivated I was all year. I think wondering like, oh my God, how did that happen? You know what I mean?
I think after seeing this movie, you'll look at people's ears more. And I also thought that we see perhaps the least curious FBI agent of all time.
A woman.
There's several points where she just basically sort of says, well, who's going to ask somebody that question? Well, who's going to ask a family a question? If someone says that's their relative, who's going to question that? And I'm thinking like, I don't know, maybe an FBI agent is going to question that.
Job.
But yeah, I mean, there are characters in this movie, and it almost reminded me, I kept finding myself thinking, what is this reminding me of? And it was Bernie. Yeah. Just in the sense that you have these kind of small town, it's a Texas town. You get the feeling that these aren't, they're not like the worldliest people, but they're not like dullards. I mean, I don't know. I think that there's an interesting dynamic as far as you kind of feel like you spend part of the movie feeling a little bit smarter than the people on screen going, well, I would never fall for that. Well, I would never do that. But in the end, you don't really know what your heart might want you to believe if you thought someone that you had lost was back. I mean, you could question if it's manipulative or not, the way that it would coax you into thinking maybe you had seen some stuff happen for a fact that really was just someone's narration. But the reenactments are really well done. Mm-hmm. They're really well shot. And I don't know. Overall, I think the creepiness of it is the thing that I wasn't really expecting to work. It's rare that a documentary creeps you out like that.
Is like Catfish creepy?
I was going to say like I would probably compare it to Catfish, like the real world element of what actually exists in the world that we live in. Right. Like sometimes the scariest things are these documentaries that you watch, but you can watch a horror movie and it might freak you out, but these things kind of scare me a little more. Yeah, it's like I mean, this is a moment like there's a moment in this film where you kind of I experienced genuine like possibly genuine disgust, creep, whatever you want to call it. But I would absolutely, I mean, this is a must see film in my opinion. It will be on my top 10 unless I see some other amazing films this year. Mm-hmm. And, you have to see it, Ronald. You would absolutely love it.
I'll definitely check it out.
It comes on DVD in January for listeners that want to check it out. You may be able to find it out there in the interwebs.
I would say recommended if you like the films of Errol Morris. Mm-hmm. And if you like this, go on and check out The Thin Blue Line, which is a documentary by Errol Morris. It reminds me of in the sense of the style because it takes like, footage from the news and interviews with the real people involved, but it also has very stylized, like the way the reenactments are filmed is very artfully done. It's like, and I don't know if you had this thought, Steve, but I kept thinking, and actually it's sort of germane to our conversation about remakes, but I kept thinking someone could totally make a great 2-hour thriller
Absolutely.
out of this. And I'm in a way I'm glad that we got to see the documentary version, but this story would be perfect for a really tight thriller.
Well, they actually did make a feature film on this based on this story, like
Really?
I think in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh, okay.
With Ellen Barkin in it, called like The Chameleon, which is on Netflix, but it's apparently horrible.
Well, scratch what I said about it being.
I haven't seen it, but a friend of mine mentioned it to me after I recommended this story to them, because I never even really heard this story before. About this kid going missing. I mean, I would have been in, I guess, middle high school during the time. I don't recall it at all, but she had referenced it and told me that she had seen this Chameleon film, but that it was a horrible film. I mean, so just strike that. Yeah. Don't go see the Imposter. I'd highly recommend it. And yeah.
And somebody else out there, write a screenplay based on this. That's not shitty, apparently.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
What do you got? I know you saw a couple random ones, right, Ron?
Yeah.
What's on your plate?
I saw a documentary, a porn documentary, actually. And
surprise.
No, Ronald, no. You're not about to tell us that, in your mind, all porn is a documentary.
No, this is actually a legitimate documentary called After Porn Ends. It came out this year. It was released around October 9th. I saw it actually on demand on YouTube. It's basically about 10 or so porn stars. It basically documents their lives after porn. And it's a pretty solid movie. I had an interest in porn for a very long time, but there was actually a series. There's actually this amazing series of porn called The Dark Side of Porn. And
you're a pornsman?
Yeah, there's one called Porn Shutdown. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It was about the shutdown in 2004 of the porn industry. Mm-mm. It's really, really good. A really good movie. I think because you think about like people that do porn in another light, and like it's weird to see. And
they seem to usually do it in harsh lighting.
Yeah, it's usually not that
After
well.
Porn Ends is kind of
not very flattering.
Yeah, it kind of highlights like basically how we demonize people that are in professions that aren't necessarily morally upright.
There's like
morally upright.
Dead air.
The thing is, I thought of 3 words you might have been going for: reputable,
right,
above ground.
So it's an interesting movie. And then the other one I saw was a very, very good movie starring Chow Yun-fat called When Bullets Fly, and that came out 2010. It takes place in the 1920s in China about a gangster called Pucky Zhang. And Pucky Zhang basically travels the world and steals things. Now he tries to steal some money and winds up robbing a guy that's impersonating a governor that's going into this town. So he poses as the governor, and Chow Yun-fat's character, Master Hung, is like a crooked guy that basically anybody that tries to go into power, if they don't follow him, he kills them. And so he gets into the situation where Pocky imitates the governor. He's posing as the governor and is faced with a crooked guy played by Chow Yun-fat that wants to kill him just because he's the governor. It's a really good movie. It's shot beautifully. I suggest seeing it. Let the Bullets Fly. Lots of shooting. Very cool movie.
Cool. And that was called what?
Let the Bullets Fly.
Oh, I thought that was just your comment.
That was your like tag for the end.
I really did. I was like, wow, that's a very poetic comment.
Right? That would have been pretty.
Let the bullets fly.
Bam.
Bam. So yeah, those are the movies that I saw.
I saw a small
little indie film.
Film, yeah.
Does it have distribution, or did you?
I don't know. I think this is going to get a little bit of like word of mouth and like a little bit of a media push, maybe coming out of the holidays. But I saw a little film called The Hobbit, yeah, man. I think that it's interesting because so much of the conversation about this movie, at least at first, is going to be about the technology. It's going to be about the frame rate.
Okay.
Which I'm surprised at how many people know about the frame rate. Mm-hmm. Like people that don't care about these things, it's become part of the story. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
here's
because at least every conversation I've had or heard has had something to do with I'm going to seek out this version. I mean, because like this is a movie that you can go see in 48 frames per second, 48 frames per second in 3D, 48 frames per second in 3D IMAX. 24 frames per second 3D, 24 frames per second 2D. I mean, there's so many different ways of seeing this movie.
How did you see it?
I don't know how big the screen at Arundel Mills is. I don't know if it's quite as big as like the junior IMAX screen at the White Marsh Theater. But it was a big screen. It was the biggest screen they had. So it may have been one of those kind of IMAX experience, like 50-foot screens. And it was definitely 48 frames per second. However, it was not marketed as such, and it wasn't announced as such. So I really had to realize it. And I knew what it was. I was like, this looks different. I mean, it definitely the first 15, 20 minutes, I was thinking, this looks extremely different than anything I've seen. Not necessarily better, just different. I mean, it's weird, man. It's very weird.
Does it like feel like when you go from like 60 to 120 refresh on the TV?
That's strange.
That bothers me.
It reminds me of that. Yes,
because turn that filter off. You like turn it off.
Yeah, I do mess with that setting a lot. It's like certain things I don't like watching like that.
It's like watching it on a camcorder.
It looks like you're watching like a bad soap opera. Well, the way those shits look.
It has the effect of making it look kind of hyper real. And I don't know. I guess the reason I mentioned that this is even worth talking about is because this is making it into the way this movie's being reported. You know, people are talking about this aspect of it, and I think
is it like to cover up the fact that the movie's not that good?
I don't think so. I mean, I think in a weird way, the movie, like I found myself wanting to, I mean, I probably would see it again anyway, just because I'm a Tolkien fan. And so like the movie only has to be so good to make me not hate it. I may have been a little disappointed in the movie. It didn't totally relaunch the excitement for the series like the way Fellowship of the Ring did. But it had certain things about it that were better. Like I think the casting, I mean, just to talk about the things that really worked, we all know how great Ian McKellen is in that role. Well, he was fantastic in this. And he's playing the version of Gandalf that's in the first film before he dies and comes back. So he's a little bit more fun and kind of, he's more emotional and kind of grumpy, and he's a pretty interesting character. And then Martin Freeman in the lead is pretty terrific. I mean, about the best Hobbit casting they've had thus far in these movies, because he's got just that right level of kind of, he's British and he's kind of, he really seems like he doesn't want to be bothered by things, but he doesn't play it as like comic relief necessarily. But Martin Freeman's really great. He's really funny. And then there's like 12 dwarf characters that are a little hard to tell apart, but there's some, they're funny. I mean, there's really nothing fundamentally wrong with the movie. It's a little long. There's some really bad CG in it. I'm really sad to say.
That's weird.
Really bad.
Why?
It's tough to say. I mean, there's some scenes where it's like pixels chasing pixels, and you are motivated. There's nothing in it that's as bad as Jar Jar Binks, and there's nothing in it that's as bad as Jake Lloyd's acting. So this is this is not that. This is not coming back, returning to the series with a bad movie. This is not a bad movie.
Right.
This is a movie that if you knocked about 20 minutes out of it, it would probably go up a letter grade. I would.
Wow.
Okay. Wow.
I would probably peg it as like a B-, but that's being charitable. That's me loving Tolkien and saying this movie did not disappoint in certain areas.
B's still pretty high though.
But as a fan of I don't know.
I think the things about it that they didn't. Have you ever been watching a movie and you're watching and like you go through phases where you go, oh, I'm really not liking this. Ugh, God, this is not going well. And then you sort of forget that you felt that way. And then you kind of that happened to me 2 or 3 times in this movie. So in the end, it ends on kind of a high note. There's a pretty good action scene near the end. And overall, I would say the look of it is really, we know from those original movies that they've got a handle on this world. So it's not like uniformly bad. There's actually some really good computer-generated imagery. Like Gollum looks amazing. He really looks real and physical. And there's some other CG where it's just like, the way things can look like they're kind of gliding.
Yeah.
Or like they shot a plate and they didn't know exactly what they were going to put into that plate. And then later they came in. I mean, I feel like that's what it felt kind of, it had that Lucas-y problem of just a lot of CG thrown in, it seemed. But it still fits in with that world. I would say that it's like if you're a fan of the other trilogy, I don't see anything that would make you hate this movie. But the one thing I wrote down in my notes was there's nothing to win you over either. Like there's nothing, if you didn't like it already, no one's going to be converted by anything in this movie. And that's maybe fine. I mean, it was a packed house. I actually talked to a friend of mine who was at the same screening, and my perception was that the humor in the movie was landing pretty well, and people around me were really just chuckling it up. But his perception, a little deeper into the crowd, was that nobody was laughing at the jokes. So I thought, well, okay, we have differing opinion about that. Maybe the people around me were just soft touches when it comes to the silly humor. But I expect that you're going to hear a lot of different specific opinions about this movie. But I don't think you're going to hear anybody just raving about how great it is, or conversely talking about how it completely sucks,
Right.
And I will say, maybe on the hopeful tip, it does feel like they're revving up. Like at the end of this movie, the things they've developed and established in this, it easily feels like the next movie could be amazing. I mean, there's nothing, like I said, there's nothing about this that sinks the trilogy or sinks the plans they have for the movie. It's just, I was hoping to be, I was hoping there to be a little bit more magic, and it wasn't quite.
Sounds like it's magic. Just me.
It's meh with a lot of really strong elements, though. Okay, so it's like I hesitate to. I mean, I really don't want to undersell it, but maybe it's good. If you hear this, you might go and you'll go, "Oh, this is really not so bad."
Right.
It's amazing to picture though how much just the look of the film might have affected my feeling about it. Like if I had not, I don't know if the 24 frames per second presentation, if the computer generated stuff would have looked better or worse. I have no idea. So it's almost, I almost want to hold off on final verdict until I've seen it again. I on the other side of that, I think it's almost a cool thing that Peter Jackson, I mean, as much as I kind of wish he didn't do it with this movie, I think it's a cool thing that he has decided he's going to make the conversation about the technology. I mean, they're talking about pushing the technology forward. I mean, maybe in a few years, this won't be such an odd thing, and they will have learned how to light for it a little bit more. Because that's the one thing was the sets look kind of, everything looks a little more fake because it's more hyper real. And in this, there were some scenes where it almost looked like Benny Hill. It was like jittery and kind of sped up.
Really?
And some of the CG actually, it made it look like a video game cutscene in a couple of parts where you just felt like, which, video game cutscenes have gotten really cool.
They have.
But still, you expect more from, from Weta.
You have to, that's the problem with the high frame rate and stuff like that, high definition and all that stuff, is that when you see a movie now, it can look horrible. When you see a movie with some CG, it looks terrible if it's, if light isn't accounted for, if it's just bad CG, you don't want that. You don't want the shittiness when it comes to the high definition.
Well, I think you're right that the new technology always kind of dates a little bit. Yeah. Like if you see a movie, like I saw a clip from Jurassic Park not too long ago, and I have, up until I saw this, thought, Jurassic Park is one of those movies that's still kind of untouchable, but some of the CG in that really looks
that's supposed
20
to be
years old now.
Polishing that and putting it.
We're supposed to be doing a 3D. Yeah, I don't think I think that's a mistake. Well, and just to kind of put a little bit of a bow on it too, I think that this is the type that you'll be happy to know, Ronald, that there is a moment where somebody says no. It is with reverb and a little bit of slow-mo.
Really?
You do get that.
Oh, I can't wait to see that.
But what the thing is, Peter Jackson's working with a good story and a script that's actually pretty good and a lot of really good actors, and they do have great set. I mean, there's still all the things that were there before, and so I don't anticipate there being a huge backlash against this. But I do think if you were expecting it, I mean, if you were a big fan of the other three, I don't know, were you? Did you enjoy the other three?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. So, I mean, I'll give it a chance. It just looks a little more goofy than the other ones.
It's definitely that.
Yeah.
If that is something that's scaring you
like
off,
a Disney
that's what like bothered me when we talked about it, like with the kind of want to see episode we had a little while ago. Like, I did not get excited about the trailer, like the first trailer that came out, especially where the entire trailer was just like the humor between all of the hobbits and the elves and whatever. And that just, I don't know, that just didn't
felt
do
like
it for
a Disney
me.
movie, man.
It
like
did. It felt very, very mild and tamed, and I mean, maybe that's what this section of it is, but
it is, and I think maybe that's a problem with
where they broke it up
with it being so long, is that it really does not seem, the story in the book is a lot of fun, but it's not really, I don't know if it can really stand up to being stretched out. Using the word goofy, like I wouldn't quite go that. I would say whimsical, but I think we're talking about the same thing. Like I think that what I think that true. There's a high whimsy content.
Goofy sounds harsh.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that if you don't go for whimsy, you think of it as goofy, and you might not be a guy who goes for whimsy. Like the Hobbit. The story of it is it's like set in the same world, but it's before things start to go bad. And one of the kind of cool things that's happening in this movie is they are indicating like this world doesn't know it's about to go bad, but there's all these little touches and little hints that there's an evil growing. So there is something, there are stakes. And I'm fine with the fact that the mission is really like, it's not a mission to save the world. I'm fine that the fact that these characters are going on more of an adventure, but it's still like, yeah, it didn't need to be almost 3 hours, and it didn't need to be like, it seemed like it had CG in places where they didn't really need to do CG.
That's my problem with it.
And I guess I wanted the CG to look 10 years better than Return of the King, but it doesn't. It looks almost the same, if not quite as good. So
I don't know. I wish I was more excited. I definitely still am looking forward to seeing it. I wish I could have gone with you, but
I don't want to sound even down on it. It's just,
it's not just you, honestly.
Yeah.
I've talked to some friends that saw it, and some trade screenings, exhibitor screenings that just weren't wild about it at all.
Yeah,
that were very and some are like big fans of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and Tolkien, and even those that weren't. I mean, I haven't gotten any feedback that was like very positive.
Yeah, it's
all been kind of like mixed positive, if that. Which kind of what I was expecting, but I wish I was more excited about it.
This is very random, but there are two people from the show Spartacus in it. Jeffrey Thomas and Manu Bennett. I don't know.
Who's Manu Bennett?
He's Azog.
Yeah. So he's doing the voice.
Yeah, I guess so.
Azog is like an all CG character.
Oh,
but he does have like a gravelly voice.
But... And I like that guy, Manu Bennett. I'm a big fan of his. But that's...
You went out on a limb with that, but I want to tell you, I like Manu Bennett too.
Yeah, he's really great.
He actually is... Steve, you're totally left out of this. Unless you happen to watch Spartacus. Do you like watching sweaty guys in loincloths?
I don't watch
Spartacus. Oh, it's so good.
I like Crixus a lot on that show because he started off as a character that you genuinely hate and turned into a character that you genuinely love.
He became such a likable person. And I like that they committed to it for like 2 seasons.
It's TV Schmovie.
You're right. This guy's going to be a dickhead for 2 seasons. And then he's like great all of a sudden. Yeah. That was pretty cool. Man, Spartacus.
I'll take your word for it.
You need to watch that.
I will.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll probably still see The Hobbit.
Yeah.
I'm a little bummed out. I was hoping you were going to come back and be like, it was amazing, because I was looking for that one person to kind of give me hope to say, you were wrong, this is going to be awesome, but...
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe Robbie Reed.
Yeah, Robbie Reed.
He's probably like...
Oh, man. He'll sing its praises, definitely.
So are we good to start this now? Can we transition?
Yes.
Whatever are you talking about, Steve?
Oh, you know what I'm talking about. This has been 54 episodes in the making, Ronald.
Could this be?
It is.
The Great Remake Debate.
Episode 1. So it's no secret. We always go back and forth about remakes. You generally against, me generally for.
Yeah.
And we're going to finally have the ability to talk about that beyond just a mention here and there.
Are we?
Usually it's kind of overshadowed by the film that we're talking about.
Right.
And this is more about the topic,
Good.
Yeah, so Steve, if you have, I understand you have like an opening statement you want to make before we get into the debate.
My biggest thing that I want to say, we'll go back and forth and we have our films we're going to talk about, is that my general stance, I'm going to put it out there now, I'm not beating around any bushes, I'll say right now, all said and done, I'm always going to be for a remake. Even if it's a protected property that's gold, that's, like the gem of somebody's whatever, like it's like the favorite movie of all time. My reason for that is because that film, when it came out, when it was initially received, was amazing. And some of these films may hold up over time, some of them may not. We've talked about films in the past that have said, I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind is we talk about like Goonies, and when we were younger, when you first saw it, it was great, and it was like your favorite movie of all time. And then years later, now it's still a really cool film, but doesn't hold up.
Yeah,
I would say that the benefit of always being open into a remake, in my exposure to them, is that it reintroduces the idea or the story to a new generation or to a new audience. Whether it's a audience that is, like we talk about foreign films, we talk about films that are years and years old or whatever it might be, or films that were like little indie hits that were like, protected, that people were like, this is like a really small film that's a cult film that nobody knows about, then gets remade and maybe a large hit.
Okay.
I just, my general thing is that I think the idea is that it reintroduces and it broadens an audience, and I'm always for that. So that's kind of like my biggest I want to put that out there. So
there are many things that have existed in the past and have come back to haunt us. Bell bottoms, measles. I don't know, man. There's a bunch of things that just shouldn't come back, and I feel like movies.
But shouldn't come back. Why?
Shouldn't come
Your
back.
examples that you just gave me
Shouldn't come back because
were
just
measles ever good?
No, in some of those movies weren't good. Here's the problem.
But wait. Wait.
Are we,
Wait. What?
So
I have a soundboard here that we're going to use. Just
Wow, that is high tech.
I like that.
so, for instance, things get a little tough. You know, it's time.
I like that.
It's time to like take a breath.
I like these
Settle
sound
back
effects.
down in your chairs.
So what I was gonna say was just I think that
I'm sorry, Ron.
remakes
You got too heated there.
remakes are just a bad idea. This is why I think that as a culture, we have lessened our amount of original movies, and it just feeds into this idea that we are a group of idiots that only capitalize on prior franchises that we already have. It just, if it's done well though, it could work. But a large
that comment, if it's done well, it can work. Why would you ever want to stunt that possibility?
Because the ratio, this ratio, it's like for every 10 remakes, half of them, a quarter of those are even reasonably good. Maybe 1 out of 10 are actually decent.
But what's to lose?
What's to lose? My sanity.
Then don't watch them.
Then don't watch. What do you mean? I'm a moviegoer.
But if you don't like the idea of a remake and you have a film that, was great or wasn't great or whatever, and a remake's coming out that you are against or that you think is going to be just as bad as the original if it was a bad film.
You know what else gets me?
Why waste your time on it?
Reimagining. How do you feel about reimagining?
What's worse, Ronald? A remake, a reboot, a reimagining, or a readaptation?
Man, reboots. I think reboots are the worst. I think reboots, because the idea is you think, oh man, they're going to start this over again and it's going to be just as shitty as it was before. And the only reboot that I've ever seen that's really worked for me was Batman.
What about X-Men First Class?
Is that a reboot?
I would call that a reboot.
That feels like more like a reimagining. It's a different world.
Reimagining? It's the same world.
I got news for you, Ronald. They're doing a new movie that has Fassbender and McAvoy and McKellen and Stewart playing the same characters.
Oh
different time periods.
They are playing.
So they are bringing it in universe. So I would say it's not a anything. It's just another chapter. In the saga.
Can we talk about more movies? And this is just this year.
And that was the nerdiest aside I possibly could have made.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And can I give you another one from this year?
Yeah.
Total Recall.
Oh
no! See, but here it is. I agree with you that remake was a bad film.
Give me a good one.
A good remake?
Yeah.
Let me in.
Okay. When did that come out?
Dawn of the Dead.
Okay.
See, this is the point. I don't think that we really are in so much disagreement. I just think that I am more so.
You want them to occur. This is the thing.
Yeah, because I think it's nothing. We're not losing anything.
I hate to
I think if you even trace it down, like the fact that they're making remakes, hey, people got jobs doing these, okay? Right. We're creating jobs for this economy.
Don't.
All right? I'll take it there.
There's lots of other movies that could be.
But that's what I'm saying, though. But those movies, I understand that. Those movies may not be getting made, but we don't know what those films are.
If from this creative coitus, we get a remake baby, put that condom on. Protect that. I don't want to see any remakes done. I think they're ridiculous. Remakes, reimagining suck. Also, Death at a Funeral. Terrible fuck.
Agreed. Horrible remake. I'm not going to argue that.
Ronald, I've got a question for you. And I'm going to give you 2 minutes to answer. And I'm going to give Steve a minute to rebut. All right. So, the question is, what would be a valid reason to remake something?
What would be a valid reason? That is a really good... Yeah, because you're asking me the opposite of what I feel. And to that, sir, I'm gonna think deeply about this. So I think a reason to make it, if the original creator has some hand in it, and I'm not talking about executive producing. If the person that wrote the original movie is rewriting it has some hand in the remake, I would respect that a lot more than a goddamn random person, some 20-something-year-old jackass that's going to ruin the franchise. That's what I'll accept. So
it's a franchise.
Yeah.
It's got to be a franchise.
It has to be something where the original writer has some hand in it, because the life, I feel like the life of the story often gets sucked out of it. And then what happens a lot of the times, especially with like Spider-Man and stuff like that, it visually was impressive, but what happens is people forget about the things that make the character cool, and they just highlight these weird, strange things.
All right. We never actually ran out of time on that. Maybe 2 minutes is too long. We'll have to reconsider that. Maybe a minute next time.
Okay, so basically my rebuttal to that would be, I think that having to have the original creator involved could really stunt any kind of newness that could be added to this whole idea. I think that having to have your hand in it almost makes me feel like some of the problems that people have with the new Star Wars films, and that we even talked about having, the new sequels that are coming out, even though they're not remakes. But I think it's an example of taking somebody like George Lucas out of it, who may not be adding anything anymore to these films.
I think
when I talk about a remake, I'm thinking, if there's a film that came out and it's being remade, having to require, George Romero having involvement in the Dawn of the Dead remake that Zack Snyder made, that would overshadow his ability to create a new spin on it. The creator of the zombie film overseeing your remake of his movie, I mean, I'd be intimidated. It would definitely probably stunt his creative whatever he added to the film. I mean, I get where you're coming with it. I just think that it would be unnecessary to always have somebody's hand in something that they've already done. If you're remaking something, add something new.
All right, Mr. Ritter. That's enough. I do have a question for you now, though, Steve. How would you feel if someone remade a shallow version of your favorite film and you subsequently heard a person half your age say that the old version was boring? Would it in any way magnify your irritation if this person was also skinnier and more handsome than you?
Man, I love this, John. What a preparation you did. So somebody remade a movie, somebody half my age.
You overhear a young person talking about how the old one was boring, and you know that you've seen the remake and it's shallow.
Yeah.
And he has a name like Brett.
How would you feel?
Brett or Brit? Because if it's Brit, I'll probably punch him in the face.
Or something like their name actually has like leet speak in it, or something that makes it even more.
Honestly, man, it would bother me, because I mean, I would be protective of the original, and I'd be insulted that this new movie, in my opinion, sucked. I mean, this is subjective. We talk about this is our opinions, but that's my point though. If he saw it and he thought the remake was great, that's good. That's him. That's what that kid, Brit, that motherfucker, will take away from that new version of that film. And I'm honestly and genuinely honest right now, I would be fine with that. Because that's my idea behind why I think remakes are fine. If it worked for me and I found why I identify with the original and it gets remade 20 years later and this filmmaker sucked and I didn't like it, but somebody else did, I'm sure there's elements of that story that are still there that kid takes away, and I'm kind of for that. We don't have to agree. I'm not saying that remakes are going to be made where everyone's going to agree that it's better than the original. That's never going to happen, and we will agree on that right now on this show. But I like the idea of somebody taking something that worked at some point and trying to add something new to it. Sometimes it will affect someone in a positive way, and it may affect me negatively. But at least they tried, and I'm fine with that. So.
Okay.
All right, Ronald, a rebuttal?
That kid's a bitch. And normally...
You can punch him in the face, too.
You can punch him in the face. And I don't know, like...
Brett with a backwards 3 instead of an E is an asshole.
I mean, there's a lot of things to take into account. Like, I guess some things are like technology-wise, the things that he may be seeing in the remake, they couldn't have been able to reproduce then. But he doesn't have the perspective or the brain power to even consider these things. So I'm going to say that he's a jackass. That's it.
All right. All right, Ronald, I've got another question for you.
Okay.
It's been said that there are no new ideas. Was the person who said that a dipshit?
He was. I think that there are lots of ideas that haven't been actually conceived and put in the film form that we've seen, at least. And I think that the problem is with that style of thinking is that that's how formulaic movies kind of get made. This idea that like everything has to be very cookie cutter comes from the idea that you can't make anything else besides these formats for movies. That's why when you see something different, it blows people's minds when there's like a level of honesty and a dialogue that you may never have heard before, or there's a level of like violence or lack thereof, or just new types of stories. I think that can happen. I think there are new types of stories that you can come up with. There are original ideas.
Completely original.
Completely? I mean, yeah, I think there's some. I feel like we see the same space movie every 5 years.
Okay.
I feel like that can be done differently. Like somebody has to be like, maybe we could do this instead of this, and that would make all the difference in the world.
What's the last thing that you saw that you felt like was truly original, completely original? Not to put you on the spot.
Right.
I'm curious.
Oh man, that's a hard thing for me to pull out of my ass right now.
Well, can I give my rebuttal real quick while he thinks about that?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't most agree with him, I think, on that. Like, I think that there are genuinely original ideas coming out. I think that the comment that there are no new ideas or no original ideas, I think it's a little, I don't know, I don't agree with it. Mm-hmm. Because I think that history, you know, if you take anything away, it's that it's built off of something else a lot of times. Right. So you take the best parts of things and you can make it better, even though it's like, you know, you're taking elements or you're combining ideas. That's most things that people love, you know, whether it's a film or technology or a thought or not, whatever it is, you know, a lot of it, you take what works and you make it better. So that somebody might say that that's kind of like a remake. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think there are plenty of ways that you could look at something and say that it's original and not have to scold it for borrowing an idea from something that, you know, came out 10 years before. Because, right. I mean, you're going to use what influenced you in your life. And that's not going to, I don't think you should be, you know, kind of look down on that, like, and saying, oh, well, that's from Dawn of the Dead or whatever. Like, right. Well, that's at a standard. That's going to influence your thought. That's going to influence your creativity. That's just what happens.
I think I can think of a completely original thing that I saw. I mean, well, I guess I don't know, man. Donnie Darko was one of the most original things I've ever seen. Hate it or love it, I'd never seen anything like it before or after, and I've never spoken to anybody that's ever seen anything like it that's seen that movie. It's a really weird original story. It's very strange. So I don't know.
I was thinking, I remember when we were talking about Looper.
Yeah,
one of the things we commented on was the fact that it wasn't a sequel, it wasn't a remake, it wasn't a prequel.
Looper,
oh man, Looper.
You know, it wasn't based on a comic book or anything.
I feel like Looper's going to get remade like 10 years from now.
It was a good original idea. Therefore,
yeah, it will be stolen.
Remake that bitch.
Yeah, remake that bitch. Played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt II.
Yeah. Is that Junior? I think that's called that Junior, don't they?
You can't just say the second?
I'm sure you could. I don't think anybody would stop you.
Okay, Junior. So,
got another question for you, Steve.
Yeah.
There sure are a lot of remakes of horror movies. Why do you think that is?
Oh, man. I would say probably because the audience, I think, for horror films are a little more forgiving sometimes on I guess on the actual subject of the film, you know. Mm-hmm. I think that films that work in horror, usually those films aren't huge budgeted films, you know, unless it's some big studio one. So they're not made for as much, and I think it's a little easier to remake them. And I think the attention deficit of the audience maybe is a little more forgiving in terms of a time frame. You know, like films that maybe come out 10 years prior could be remade or rebooted or whatever you want to call them. And honestly, like a lot of times because of the turnaround on the budget, they're cash cows. And I think that, you know, that influences a lot of studios, a lot of filmmakers. And a lot of filmmakers in the mainstream, like, cite horror films as like their life, their background, you know, their lifeblood growing up. So I think that either they want to try to do their take on it or, you know, kind of just try their shot at remaking their favorite horror film. I mean, I like Dawn of the Dead I mentioned, Let Me In. A lot of the ones I threw out the Ronald are remakes. Like, yeah. I even love the Texas Chainsaw remake that, you know, came out with Jessica Biel, and I was a really big fan of that, you know.
Well, two of us are wrong. though I wonder if maybe horror movie remakes are so much more acceptable because these are already series that are these are the most likely to have 8, 9 movies in a series, and maybe the remake in a horror movie series is like it's a chance to reset the continuity. So do you ever wonder what if you saw a good remake, do you ever wonder what those same filmmakers would do with original material? Or
I wonder that all the time.
I do wonder that, actually. That's a great point. I mean, I'd have to really think about an example of someone that kind of started with that and got to flex any kind of, original muscle. I don't know, Matthew Reeves, he did the Let Me In remake. Mm-hmm. And I know he has, he did Cloverfield, and what does he have coming up now? Do you know? I mean, I know he has something in the pipe.
Yeah, he does.
It does make me wonder. Mm-hmm. Yes, like what they could do with an original property.
He's attached to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
That's right.
That's sequel, yeah. It's a sequel.
Which is interesting. Yeah. The sequel to a remake, or is Rise of the Planet of the Apes a remake, or is it a Is it a reboot, or is it a readaptation?
On a lot of levels.
Yeah, or is it a bunch of stuff.
Reboot,
kind of remake,
prequel, remake,
right? Yeah, it's like a I
thought it was a cool ass movie. Like
prequel make boot.
I think it's a prequel make boot.
So, speaking of which, right? You guys saw a original, right?
Yes.
Right. And you guys were waiting to talk about it.
I guess now
I talked about this thing a million times, and now you guys have to talk about it. What did you think about Record?
Did you ever see Let Me In?
No.
What the hell is wrong with you? What do you do with your time besides watch porn? And movies about porn.
Yeah, I was about to say,
documentaries about porn.
You've run out of porn to watch. You've run out of porn to watch, and now you're actually watching movies about porn. You're watching the cut scenes from porn.
Yeah. Like, I wonder what happened to the actress after they yelled cut.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't watch that instead of Let Me In.
Did she ever get her face cleaned off? I want to know. Boy, she had spirit, that one.
Well, she was spunky.
Oh, you took it there.
So nothing is sacred. Is that right, Steve?
Mm. Yeah, honestly, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I can't say it. I mean, I would never say that if I was a filmmaker, in my wildest dreams, I would love to have been a filmmaker in some life. Mm-hmm. I would be disappointed and I don't know, like insulted maybe. Honestly, man, like if I had confidence in my filmmaking or in my skill, and I saw a property that I loved, or that the audience loved, or that somebody in this world loved in some way that's measurable, and I wanted to put my take on it, if it was available and a studio would back it, I would want to give it a shot. Yeah. I would want to challenge myself with that. I think that's a big thing that I see it as, is a challenge to improve it. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but you never know that unless you try it.
That's true.
And I mean, I do encourage original content. I don't know ever in a top 10 list of the past 5 years how many films in those lists I would say are remakes, that were my favorite films of the year. Yeah. I mean, I would say Let Me In was on it, like when it came out that year, because I love that remake. Mm-hmm. And maybe even Dawn of the Dead, but I keep referencing those.
Having seen Record and not having seen Quarantine, I don't know about that transition, but I'm to understand that you feel like the Quarantine not a
awful.
Good remake.
It was
how does it differ? Like,
okay, so
or like what makes it so much worse?
Well, something about it, like one of the things that I really don't like is just randomly every horror movie has an extremely ridiculous black person. Quarantine had an extremely ridiculous black
Every movie
person.
Podcast has one too.
Right? But not one that goes, oh fuck that. I'm gonna shoot fuck that.
That's you just did.
That's so weird.
That was so meta.
Why does that happen?
That just happened.
Why does that happen, man? The surprise element wasn't there for some reason. And it wasn't because I had seen it. It was like something about the way they set up the scenes just wasn't quite as daunting, and it just wasn't. It's just like, oh, okay, I know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm.
So it's just a lifeless.
It's a lifeless version of it, yeah.
Which is like
it's a worst case scenario.
Yeah, right.
I'd rather them just do something totally different, and then a reimagining, like the basic outline of it, and then just destroy it that way. I hate when they follow it point by point, and it's awful. Like Psycho. Psycho. Yeah. Psycho was like frame for frame.
Well, Psycho was almost an interesting experiment because it was literally like a shot for shot remake, and it's like you could almost view that as like you could almost understand that artistic decision.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even though I don't think it resulted in a good film,
Right.
I do think you could say, I understand the idea of someone saying, all right, I'm going to go back to the storyboards of a master and I'm going to follow in their footsteps and make it now. I think that, that, but again, maybe that's such an academic experiment. Like, we didn't really need to have to pay to go see that.
Not
it was
at all.
rather pointless in the end.
Yeah.
The reputation of Psycho hasn't really been harmed in any way.
yeah.
I mean, if anything, like if it sucks, it almost really like, damn, the original was that much better. It goes like, is it the protective nature of it versus are you just trying to encourage just go original instead?
Go original.
I mean, I guess that's the two things I can see, but I don't really have an issue with either.
It's more go original, and there's so many. I think it's the volume of it in American cinema. That's what it is.
It's when you see how many there are.
Yeah. Like
especially when you're watching like trailers before a movie, and like 3 out of 7 trailers, which is already a problem, will be for remakes.
Yeah.
And this is something else to think about. Like when we're talking about movies, I would say like you were kind of going to get into like what would you say are some like the better remakes that you've seen? I mean, some of the things that came to mind when I was preparing for this are like movies that are actually remake. Like the remake that I'm going to say is one of my favorite remakes is the film that it was remade from maybe wasn't as well admired as it was.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I guess that's the idea you're going with. But like thinking of films like Scarface, The Thing, 12 Monkeys, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, all movies that I think are widely critically acclaimed, commercially successful movies that people like.
What about Mr. Deeds?
That's probably not going to be my conversation.
Yeah, I would say that don't throw it into the column he was trying to create, because I think that you, Steve, you did, that is a good point, because like Invasion of the Body Snatchers is like an example of a great movie that was remade as a great movie.
Yeah.
Thing from Another World, great movie for its time. John Carpenter's The Thing, great movie for its time. The Dawn of the Dead movies we've already talked about.
The Thing remake. What? Wow. Whoa.
Are you talking about the
sequel? This is where we're going. Like, I'm talking about John Carpenter.
John Carpenter's movie, which is a remake of Thing from Another World.
Right.
Oh, okay.
See, things that you're not even aware of that film. And I'll be honest, I never was when I saw it.
Yeah. I don't think there's going to be any stopping of the flow of remakes.
Absolutely not.
Because what they see is that there's a recognizable property. That name creates an opening weekend.
Well, they have more to gain than lose by going for it.
So at the end of phase 1 of the great remake debate, I'm beginning to think maybe there shouldn't be a phase 2, because the resolution of this is that it's inconclusive.
No,
I don't think anybody was convinced. I think there's
this is a conclusion.
There's a certain amount of agreement.
Steve's a bitch, and I'm right, and I win this debate.
Is that what happened?
That means the debate's over.
What if real debates are like that, like political debates? Well, he's a bitch, and I don't believe in his policy. He's a whore.
And if Bob Schieffer plays that, it's time to stop debating.
But yeah,
I was trying to do a Bob Schieffer thing tonight. I hope you guys appreciate it.
It went really well. Like this debate was, I thought it was just going to be one-sided, and he would. Well,
I think in my eyes, it actually was one-sided.
No,
that fact, that you agree with me on every remake I said.
That there's a bunch of really bad ones, and they shouldn't exist.
I agree with that.
Oh man, that's
shouldn't exist. No, they were bad. Yeah.
Steve is saying he doesn't lose sleep over the existence of these bad movies, and I think Ronald, it's in your character, yes, to be more upset by them.
Take it personal.
Visibly angry. That's X's over my eyes like an anime movie, and I just faint.
Should I just assume that your lack of enthusiasm for episode 53 was due to a remake, a bad remake?
Oh, bad remake!
Oh God.
Definitely.
I watched The Amazing Spider-Man again.
This made me feel shitty. It's messed with my health.
All right.
There it is. Maybe there only really is one episode.
Right.
Man, that just happened.
I'm glad we had it.
Maybe we can have like little one-offs on when these remakes come out. We can revisit our thoughts on them. But maybe that's a one-and-done kind of conversation.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think we need to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Yep. Never had more lulls.
I know, man.
Like I think we're all kind of looking at each other. It's like the card game in Inglourious Bastards.
Right.
Yeah, poker face. Oh God! Thanks, guys, for listening. Thank you, Ronald, for your thoughts that changed nothing in my opinion of remakes. Okay. Thank you, John, for your wonderful mediation of that.
All right, I enjoyed that
great remake debate.
It was sloppy, unfocused, and inconclusive.
Much like Ronald's favorite porn.
Big Brazilian Booties Part 2.
There you go.
Yeah, very, very big and sloppy.
Probably be remade one day.
Right.
It'll be your new favorite porn. Thank you guys for listening. Hit us up, movieschmovie.net. We got to get John up in there writing some stuff. Eventually he will be. Movieschmovie@gmail.com. What else? Facebook. Just hit us up wherever we always talk about.
Pinterest.
We're there.
Just look to the internet. And you'll see us
the
there.
web of the world. Yeah. And subscribe to the iTunes podcast. That's really what we want you to do, if anything. If one thing, just subscribe or share it. Either one is fine.
Yeah, do all of that.
And if you listen and you like, be public. Go public with your feelings about Movie Schmovie. If you like it.
Yeah. Otherwise, shut your fucking mouth.
Yeah, keep it quiet. Keep it on the down low.
We will track you down.
Checks in the mail.
And we will hurt you. We will find you.
I was offering to pay people,
and now you're threatening them.
Ronald is kind of messing up.
Mixed emotions right now.
Right. Liam Neeson, man.
He is a man. Yeah, you're right. He is a man. Thank you for your great insights, Ronald. And on that note, thank you so much for listening. You have made our day.
Bye.
Liam Neeson, man.